what I did find is that 76.8% of the population of Nepal does have access to power. And of that, I was reading that 16 to 23% of its electricity is imported. Now, the rest of that is indeed supplied by hydroelectric power. But however, in 2010, that meant that 12.5 million people didn't have access to electricity. And as a matter of fact, 76% of the entire population, whether or not they have electricity or not, they still use wood stove tops. Also, an interesting thing to note is that Nepal does not have any known oil, coal, or gas reserves. Now, like I said, a lot of their power is imported. Let's talk about their import-exports. Once again, this is another one of those countries that imports a lot more than it exports. Now, its exports equal $1.06 billion in goods. However, they import $7.75 billion in goods as well. Now, their biggest exports are knotted carpets being 7.5, and yeah, flavored water being 6.5%. Now, a few of you guys in the comments, you guys mentioned that Nepal has a very unique flag. As a matter of fact, the only flag of its type in the entire world. Now, most flags are, yeah, in the shape of a rectangle or square. They're called quadricle flags. But however, it is true, Nepal does not have a quadricle flag. And as a matter of fact, you guys were right, because Nepal, well, it has a flag of 2 triangles on it. And I gotta say, man, give that to Nepal. I wish there were more flags that were like this. Not to bash any other countries, but I really think that this is original. Now, back on April 25th of 2015, Nepal was hit by a giant earthquake. It measured 7.8 on the Richter scale. But here are some things that you probably didn't know about that earthquake. First of all, it is the worst earthquake they've had in 80 years. The earthquake itself also had 2 aftershocks. The first one measuring 6.7 on the Richter scale, and the 7 being 7.3. This earthquake affected 8 million people, with over 8,700 people being lost and 22,000 people being injured. And that was a really sad and unfortunate time for Nepal. And now, enough with the bad stuff, let's talk about something really good about Nepal. It is the oldest country in South Asia. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? But Nepal was founded in 1768, and this bloody country doesn't even have an Independence Day because it was never conquered by anybody. Now, keep in mind, in 1923, Britain declared its independence, but this is because the whole country was ruled by the Rana family, and they pretty much supported the Prime Minister. Nepal is also the first country to have the highest renewable water resources. That's right, Russia comes second, the United States and Canada come third and fourth. Now, this is according to a study done in 2011, where it stated that Nepal has over 210 cubic kilometers of renewable water. I guess that's why we get a lot of flavored water from that country. Guys, if you think Nepal is already a pretty fascinating place, hit that like button, because I'm pretty fascinated by it already. Oh yeah, and what am I talking about? Man, we always like to talk about the population of countries, and I feel like I've totally forgot that in this video. Nepal has over 27.8 million people. Now keep in mind, Nepal only has a landmass of 147,000 kilometers square. And also, that study was done in 2013, so there's probably a lot more people nowadays. Now here's another thing, when we think of Nepal, you guys probably think of this guy. You know who I'm talking about? Buddha, the guy that kind of reminds me of the Pillsbury Doughboy. You know what I'm saying? You just want to poke his belly and hope he goes, Listen guys, I'm not being anti-religious. You got a belly that big, you just want to poke it. Hopefully there's no lint in there, because that would be just disgusting. But when it comes to Buddha and the religion of Buddhism, some people may think that it formed in different countries. However, Lord Buddha was born around 623 BC, and they say that the Lumbini temple is not only kind of the area where he was born, but it's also the first Buddhist temple. As a matter of fact, this temple is so recognized as the birthplace of the Buddhist religion that it is under the protection of the UNESCO, which is a World Heritage Organization. Now let's talk about the tallest mountain in the entire world. And that tall mountain is known as Sagarmatha, which currently stands over 29,000 feet above sea level. Now wait a minute, I get it. Some of you guys could be like, Dave, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, Sagarmatha's not the tallest. It's Everest, man. Don't you know? Just common sense? Well, believe it or not, Mount Everest is also called Sagarmatha. Gotcha. And you know what? Considering we're talking about Everest, let's talk about Everest and who climbed it. Now, many people have climbed it. They've tried to climb it. Many people have died in an attempt to climb it as well. As a matter of fact, they say about 280 people have died so far, at least in collected human history, while attempting to climb the mountain. Now, the idea for climbing the mountain came from Clinton Thomas Dent, who was president of the Alpine Club. In his 1885 book, Above the Snow, he stated that, yeah, it's most likely possible to climb that mountain and reach the top. Now, after that, there were tons of attempts. As a matter of fact, the northern approach was first discovered by Gregory Mallory and Guy Bullock. Now, this was during a British expedition in 1921, and they only made it to 22,982 feet. However, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norway were the first people to successfully climb to the top, and that was back in 1953. Gotta say, there's a lot of cool history on the attempted climbs and the successful climbs of Everest. Soldiers and regiment known as the Gurkhas. Now, these guys are an amazing group of heroes known for their combat training and, most importantly, their history of peacemaking around the world. And funny part is, although they are Nepal soldiers, they are frequently recruited by the Indian Army and even the British military. But their reputation has been so great that they have actually been part of the British military for about 200 years, with their motto, better to die than be a coward. Now, courtesy of some of our viewers, such as Shantosh Lamichain and Gaigan Gamir, they said that Nepal has a very diverse amount of high points and low points. As a matter of fact, Nepal is the highest when it comes to extreme land heights and lows, with the highest point being Everest at 29,029 feet and the lowest being 230 feet. Now, some people say it's 70 feet, but I couldn't find any information on that. The only one I could find was 230. But what this means is that you could go from a tropical climate to an Arctic temperature in a very short distance. And because of its many different environments, Nepal is known to have a great diversity of species in the country. For example, there are over 208 species of mammals alone within Nepal. But what makes Nepal great is not only do they have a lot of animals, but they also take care in protecting its diversity and life. Currently, they have 23 protected zones. 9 of them are national parks, 3 conservation areas, 3 wildlife reserves, and many more, including 4 World Heritage Sites. With all those combined, it equals over 11,200 square miles of protected land. Now, Nepal is also the home of Virendra Shrestha. This is the world's youngest professional photographer. Born on December 29th of 2004, he was only 2 years and 2 days old on December 31st, 2006, when he exhibited and sold his work at the Nepal Art Council. And just so you know, Shrestha means noble and most excellent in Sanskrit. Now, if you go to places like Kathmandu, you'll also notice sometimes there's cows hanging around the streets. Well, this is because in Nepal, it is completely illegal to slaughter a cow. And this isn't just because Hindus see the cow as a god, but because in recent years, Nepal has adopted the cow as its official animal. Now, one thing that's amazing about Nepal, and it's the one thing that I really want to go and visit it for, is its festivals. As a matter of fact, they say it is a country of non-stop festivals. And believe it or not, they have 5 main holidays, with over 25 other festivals, and probably the most spiritual one of all the holidays is Dashain, which is a 15-day-long festival and is the longest festival that symbolizes the victory over good versus evil. The festival sometimes runs somewhere between September or October, with the 10th day being the most important day of the holiday. Now, the people of Nepal are not only good at preserving life and practicing good over evil, they are also great at taking care of their own culture and ancient buildings and history. Nepal is famous for having the most heritage sites per dense location. For example, the Kathmandu Valley alone has 7 heritage sites, and it's so famous that artists have even written songs about it. Speaking about music, let's talk about music and dance. Because the Nepali people have something that they like to claim as their own, and that is the dance called the Dishka, which is a very ancient dance that is performed at weddings. But let's not forget the Thero stick dances, which are also interesting as well. But what these 2 dances have in common is they are both protected by the Himalayan Heritage Cultural Academy. Now, like many great nations, Nepal has also seen darker times. And we're actually talking about the recent Nepal Civil War. Now, this war began in 1996 and resulted in the deaths of 19,000 people. And after a decade of fighting, it ended with the signing of a comprehensive peace accord on November 21st, 2006. By 2007, the Ministry of Peace and Reconstruction established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is tasked to investigate the killings during the war, and it is still going on today. But with the war long gone, Nepal has become a country of heavy tourism. From 2006 to 2013, its international visitors jumped from 383,926 to 798,000. So thanks everyone for watching this video and learning with me about a beautiful and touching country known as Nepal. Where did it get its name from? It's kind of original, right? Well, it's said that it got its name from the Kathmandu temple, which was built in 1596. It is also known as Marusatal. And although at one point it was an important structure in Kathmandu, it was unfortunately destroyed in the 2015 earthquake. Now Kathmandu, it's not really shocking to know that it is the capital of Nepal. But this capital comes in at 17th when it comes to capitals by altitude, and it sits at 4,593 feet high. But the city is also known for its extensive history in culture and art. This is because it is a culmination of many different people, and the reason for this is because Kathmandu at one point was the center of all trading between India and Tibet. And that is the reason why Kathmandu is a very spiritual place, because it's filled with so much diversity. Now in the city there is a place called Freak Street. I feel like I should be living there. The reason it's called this is because back in the 60s and 70s, it was a place where you would see, well, pretty much a lot of hippies. And it's one of many districts and streets in the city that are quite popular. However, Kathmandu owes a lot of its history to the Newars. Now these were the first real inhabitants of Kathmandu, with their first reference appearing in an inscription in 1654. And although they were the original inhabitants, they were eventually conquered and invaded by the Gorkha Kingdom in 1769. And although we know of Kathmandu being a very peaceful place, this happened after the Battle of Kathmandu. The battle happened in 1868 and it resulted in the defeat of King Javapakesh, who fled the country with his most entrusted men when he knew he was going to lose the city. At that point, the Gorkha king Prithvi Narayan Sheth established the Shah dynasty, and it lasted for centuries, having 13 royal followers. However, the Shah dynasty ended when Nepal became a republic in 2008, removing monarchy from Nepal. Now, the Battle of Kathmandu was not the only dark time in the city's history. As a matter of fact, on April 25th, 2015, Nepal was struck with a terrible earthquake. This earthquake damaged many of the ancient buildings and unfortunately claimed the lives of many. Now the epicenter of this earthquake struck only 65 kilometers from Kathmandu, and because of that, certain parts of the city were raised by almost 3 feet. Even though there was a lot of devastation from the earthquake, the city is still home to at least 130 historical sites, and it has 7 World Heritage Sites. However, in 2003, most of these sites have become listed as endangered because of a loss of authenticity and value of cultural property. But Kathmandu is home to one of the most developed medical institutions in all of Nepal. The Burr Hospital, for example, is the oldest hospital in Nepal. It was built in July of 1889 by Burr Shamsur Jang Badar Rana. The hospital holds 535 beds with a yearly budget of $4.1 million US. And although Kathmandu is a city, it has great relationships with other cities around the world. They call them sister cities, where cities create social agreements in order to encourage trade and tourism and understanding and friendship. Currently, Kathmandu has an agreement with 14 cities, and some of these cities are Edinburgh, Johannesburg, Miami, Mumbai, Minsk, Istanbul, Quebec City, and of course, many more.